remember back in 2002, during a meeting with my own oncologist, us talking about cancer in the future. And I remember asking him, what kind of strides can I expect to be made during my lifetime? My oncologist said that he believed we would both see people living with cancer. Living with cancer. And treating it like we do other chronic diseases. Little did I know that one of my dearest friends would give me an inside look at what having a cancer that doesn't go away would be like. Tonight, our survivor speaker is a daughter, a sister, a wife, and one of my dearest friends. She is a Greensboro native. She attended Grimsley High School and is still a very devoted Whirly. She attended King's Business College in Charlotte. She is a self-employed, independent insurance agent and resides in High Point with her husband, Rob, and her 2 Welsh corgis. When I look at her, what I see is a remarkable woman, trying to achieve some balance that goes way beyond coping with just cancer. She is a woman that is determined to embrace her life, with or without cancer. She overflows with a positive and infectious energy and is giving a whole new look to how we face the serious side of life. She is putting a fear-reducing and life-embracing spin on this battle that she has been dealing with for the past 3.5 years. As she tells her story tonight, you will see cancer from the other side. Not the other side of a stethoscope, not a medical dictionary, or a how-to coping book. She will tell the survivor's story without ever forgetting that there is a whole and full life outside of cancer, or for that matter, any personal battle. And she does it with humor and honesty. Many of you know her, and she is not one to sugarcoat anything. But tonight, she will show us that in all of life's challenges, amidst the pain, the tears, the fear, and uncertainty, that there is also, always, room for joy, laughter, and simply loving your life. Please join me with a warm Greensboro College welcome to our survivor speaker, Lynn HOLT-CAMPBELL.
For me, I don't do this kind of stuff. Well, y'all having fun? It is about having fun, and y'all have to excuse me, but I'm probably going to read most of this. I've got something called chemo fog, and I've also got issues just with my memory in general, and I won't even tell you why that is. Well, the reason we're all here tonight is to have fun, but it's also about finding a cure. And it's about putting a hopeful end to the pain and fear that is cancer. It's about giving those who have cancer a better outcome. It's about hope, and it's about life. And talking about life, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't ask that we all take a moment of silence now in reverence to all who have had their lives turned upside down this week. It's been a hell of a roller coaster for them. the Boston bombings and the Texas explosion. So please join me in asking for healing for everyone. Just take a moment and pray to whoever your God is. All right, just a little background of how I got here, and I think Victoria told you part of it. Almost 4 years ago, I posted something on Facebook about my newly diagnosed cancer situation, and a friend said that a friend of his thought that she might have some advice. Well, don't they all? And that maybe I should friend her. Well, that was when and how I met Victoria. Since I'd had back-to-back surgeries and then 4 months of what is referred to as topical chemo, we had a lot of time to get to know each other, and boy did we. We messaged each other and had marathon phone conversations. I kid you not, the phone would go dead before we stopped talking. Well, the more we talked, the more that we figured out we had many mutual friends and had even been at some of the events at the same time through our 20, 30 years out in the party scene in Greensboro or wherever. And as many of y'all know, last year she was the survivor speaker, and she invited Rob and I to come, and we had a blast. And we met Dr. Zarda and we met Carolyn, and it was just a lot of fun. Well, from there, for some reason, they thought that I should come here tonight. And it really kind of floored me because I, again, don't do this. But the trust they put in me to deliver tonight's speech, I just wanted to try to do them right. Unfortunately, almost as soon as I signed on to do this, my health started to decline, and since September, I've been on an emotional and mental roller coaster, not to mention physical. I've been dealing with an undiagnosed autoimmune disease. You say, what does that have to do with anything? Well, it's indirectly caused by my cancer. We don't have any answers yet as to what it is even, and we have been testing since December, but God willing, we'll get there. So here I am, and here's the story. What happened and how it happened was a complete fluke. Had I not been monitoring another situation because of a procedure I'd had, who knows if or when I'd ever found the cancer. First, I want to share what my life had been leading up to that day. Almost exactly a year prior to my own diagnosis, I lost my best friend to cancer. Rob and I were his caregivers to the point that we moved into his home. It was a very bittersweet time to know that you're losing someone you love so fiercely and to be part of their final days. I wouldn't have traded that time for anything. And during that time, I was already scheduled, though, to have this little procedure to fix a bladder issue. You women over 40-some might understand. But I couldn't leave Mark's side, and since this wasn't a life or death issue, my doctor said, cool, we'll just wait. You know, we know he's going to pass, and we'll just reschedule. So he passed, and then the holidays came and went, and then spring came, and then summer came, and I was like, oh crap, I was supposed to have a surgery. So I saw my doctor, and we set a date around mid-October. Well, the procedure went fine. I was home recuperating, and as everyone is told to do after a procedure, if you notice any little changes, be sure to give us a call. Well, I had an issue. One of my stitches came loose, and they fixed it, and they told me, keep an eye on that area. Well, y'all, it was in my groin area. Well, you just don't look at that often. I didn't. Maybe some of you young girls do. We found what turned out to be, though, abnormalities that were cancerous cells. So I'm going to stop right there for a second. You know that I said, sometimes you just know when something's wrong. I knew. I just knew. I'm telling you, to my core, something told me. So after going back to my gynecologist, and within about 5 minutes, she lets me know, we have an issue. That's why I'm here. And she needs to do biopsies. Well, my heart's pounding, and I really thought that I was going to pass out. The room was spinning, I was seeing double and triple, and when I finally regained my composure, which was only a few seconds, but I thought I'd been in there for 2 hours, She asked if I was sure I didn't want to just reschedule because it was going to be painful and I would need my husband to drive me home. And I was like, oh, hell no, we're doing this now. So we got everything ready. And the reason I wanted to do it was because I was on a Friday, and you know how doctors' offices are. Hell, I might not get in there again for a week. So I said, let's go ahead and do it. I can't tell you how I did it, to be honest. I don't know if it was the shock that got me through the physical pain, but that weekend I tried to go on like normal, and once the C word has been mentioned, you can't unhear it. It's like a wreck that you didn't want to look at. You can't unsee that. So we went through the procedure. I went home, and to be honest, I don't know what I did that weekend. I don't know if I talked on the phone, or if I went shopping, or if any friends came over, or if Rob and I just sat in our room and cried. My sister, my sweet sister's here. My sister and Rob were doing everything they could to be reassuring and saying all the right things, but it just didn't matter. You just can't stop the fear or the anxiety. And this is contrary to how I am. I'm the one that's positive and happy and upbeat. It was like my personality said, screw this, it's too hard, I'm out. But what was I afraid of? I wasn't afraid that I would die, and I wasn't afraid of the pain, and I wasn't afraid of the sickness. I was afraid of being a burden. I was afraid of no longer being the strong one. I was afraid of losing my identity and just becoming cancer patient number 487,298. Well, I was also afraid, most of all, of not watching my beautiful niece, who's with my sister here, and my gorgeous nephew, and my beautiful goddaughter grow up. And I'd also miss growing up with Rob, growing older with Rob. Well, the weekend ended, and Monday came, and then so did the call. Again, I knew. Dr. Sambo starts talking about something. I don't know what she said, but I know it was something like, how was your weekend? I hope you had a good weekend, blah, blah, blah. My heart's pounding between my ears at this point. And then she gets a different tone in her voice and says, well, I have to say, I'm glad we didn't reschedule that biopsy and that you were so diligent about noticing those changes, because we do have an issue. So now I think I'm going to throw up. I'm not usually one to fade in a crisis. I'm the opposite. I'm the one who sees an accident and jumps out to help, and Victoria knows this because I did it with her once. I'm the one who soothes other people's nerves or fears, and I'm the one who tries always to see the bigger lesson in something in my life. So I'm listening to her, but it's kind of like I'm outside of my body, holding the phone, thinking, who is she talking to? Well, she says the biopsy came back positive for VEN3, vulvar intraepithelial neoplasia. And I say, it's what? I mean, you know, usually you're like, oh, it's breast cancer. No, you have VEN3. So I tried to focus, and she keeps talking, and she tells me that there's 3 stages of VEN, and these are basically a dysplasia type stage of vulva cancer. I ain't never heard of that crap. All I hear is cancer, though. Dr. Sambo keeps talking and saying that one area is worse than others, and because of that, I have to go to a specialist oncologist. She refers me to a gynecological oncologist, Dr. Skinner, and she is reputed to be the expert in her field, so we're off and running. Now back to Mark, my best friend who passed away, who we stayed with. Remember I said that I'd try to find the bigger lesson in things? Well, it kind of dawned on me that if I'd had the surgery the year before as scheduled, we might not have ever found anything until it was too late. I know it sounds really weird, but as a wise woman tells me all the time, Victoria, the universe makes no mistakes. Maybe I was tricking myself, but I had to find some sort of positive in all of it. And I found it in the belief that being with Mark during his transition had a bigger meaning, and it was basically through my diagnosis. The universe was trying to show it to me. So we met with Dr. Skinner, and she explained what we're going to do and what we could expect, and that was real interesting because she said, we don't know. We don't have really that much to go on with this kind of cancer. It's an ugly cancer. And she even went, her words resonate to me this day. She said, other gynecological cancers fit nicely in a box. And at that point, she drew a box. I didn't know what the hell a box was. That's not to say they aren't terrible, but we know more about them and we have more treatment options, she says. Well, the rest of the meeting was about telling Rob and I how they felt it was best to move forward, which meant doing surgery to laser the entire affected area, hoping that would be all that was needed. Well, we set up the surgery, and between the time seeing Dr. Skinner and the actual surgery, time dragged. I'm telling you, if I had a headache, oh my God, I've got brain cancer. My toe just hurt. I guess I've got bone cancer. Every twinge scared the crap out of me. I was already beginning to live my new normal, and I didn't even know what that meant yet. Surgery went great, and I went through a pretty painful and uncomfortable recuperation period, honestly. Parts of that are a fog to me, which is really good. What will always stand out is the fact, though, that I remember coming out and thinking, this happened to me. I just had surgery to stop cancer in my body, not my friends who have had cancer, not my family members who have cancer. This is me. So I thought it was a bad dream. Nope, it's my reality now. Rob was equally as scared, but I never saw or felt it. That man, he was my nurse, my dietitian, show me back, my pharmacist, my cheerleader, my rock. You know, we enter into marriage or life partnership with the best of intentions, and we never ever expect for it to just completely fall apart because of something this awful. Any lesser resilient relationship really would have fallen apart because the days and nights of emotions and of sickness and of pain and of fear are just frippin' ridiculous. But Rob was my constant, and he was and still is my hero. During recuperation, I had checkup appointments and was told everything looks real good until one didn't. I'd been seeing the PA, so when she walked back in the room with my doctor, I knew something was wrong. They began to tell me that new cells were already developing. Well, so much for we hope the surgery takes care of everything, huh? They had told me pre-surgery that if we had to do any treatments afterward, it's only about 4 to 6 weeks. Except for my case. I had to do topical chemo for 4 months. 2, sometimes 3 times a week. And I can tell you that getting that news was almost as devastating as the all-out diagnosis. Without getting too graphic, topical chemo is the preferred treatment because we're treating a topical situation because we're not entirely systemic at this point. The disease presents topically, and as it worsens, it becomes systemic, and then you will begin either an oral or an IV chemo. The key is to annihilate all of the cells and never allowing them to become systemic, because then you've really got a bad news scenario because of all the major lymph nodes in that area, and the lymph nodes carry the blood into the rest of your body and carry those cancer cells. Pre-surgery, we were told there are 2 types of this cancer. There's the kind where you do surgery and everything comes back clean. You get to come back in 6 months. You get to come back in a year and then 2 years. That wasn't the kind I had. Mine was aggressive and recurrent. So for 4 months, I was basically bedridden, and the treatments lasted 8 hours. During that time, and sometimes a day or so after, I basically didn't move any more than I had to. I spent hours talking to Victoria and my sister on the phone. And I'm gonna tell y'all something, chemo burns, that's the point. It's to burn up and kill the cancerous cells. And considering the location of my cancer, I'm just gonna leave it up to y'all to imagine what it was like, because I don't want nobody fainting. Well, that kind of sums up my new normal. I'm not in remission, and I'm not cancer-free. I have chronic cancer. I go to my oncologist every 3 months or less, and I go through a painful procedure just to check everything. I've struggled whether to share this or not, but it's part of my new normal, and it's a reality of this cancer. The bad in these appointments is my vaginal tissue is traumatized, so much so that walking is painful a lot of the time. The bad in these appointments also, I don't get to celebrate being cancer-free yet. But the good is a lot more, and that's what grounds me. The good in these appointments is they've turned out to be the therapeutic means every time. The actual act of the excision for the biopsy gets precancerous and cancerous cells, and every time it comes back clean. So for that, I'm really grateful. And today, right now, I'm doing okay. I had my last checkup a few weeks ago, and there hasn't been any further invasiveness, nor do we have any new cell growth. Cancer isn't just a tumor, guys, and cancer doesn't necessarily stop with the removal of a tumor or the cancerous cells. Even after you get the all-clear report, you'll most likely still have issues from secondary situations because the treatments just wreak havoc on your system. Like what I said about me walking, that's a secondary situation. I had another secondary situation really show itself last fall around September. I began dealing with declining health and literally thought I was dying. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me and still can't. Basically, they do know though, because of the fact that my cancer is chronic and it won't go into remission, that my immune system is screwed. And for that reason, I now have an autoimmune disease, but they don't know which one. And I've been through brain MRIs, I've been through multiple blood tests, I've been through more doctor appointments, and we still don't know what's what. Hopefully soon. So here is what. I came up in a time when the sexual world was coming out of just getting used to the pill being the norm. Yeah, I'm that old. And safe sex wasn't even a household term. And AIDS, that was only something the gay community dealt with, we thought. So like most folks in this age group, I thought I knew everything. And I ended up making some bad decisions. And some of those decisions, it would seem at least one, was not to use protection at some point. That was life-changing at the moment I did it, and I had no idea. What I mean, and I want y'all to hear me on this, my type of cancer is linked to HPV. I have probably had an HPV for at least 30 years, and I never knew. I hadn't even had a gynecological issue that's normal for most women, if you know what I mean, until I had a hysterectomy, much less anything more serious. I mean, before tonight, in my speech, did y'all know? Did you know there was a link of HPV to cancer? I didn't. I didn't know what I didn't know, but what I know now, I wanted to share with y'all in the hope that it saves you from future illness and possibly death. So my story isn't just about the battle with cancer as much as it's about making safe decisions. If you're sexually active, y'all, especially y'all being in college, be safe. I mean, hell, it's your life. I recently made a simple comment to Rob that after I said it shook me up a little bit. I can't believe how many friends we've lost to cancer. The list just grows and grows. And the thing is, it's not just numbers. These are people that I know, people who've molded my life and who've taught me good and some bad life lessons. But they've made me who I am in so many ways. Cancer knows no limits. And without the American Cancer Society and what y'all are doing here tonight to help the research, it would be a death sentence. The deaths of my loved ones aren't just a statistic on a graph somewhere. It's my reality, and I take it personally. As much as it hurts to experience so much loss, I keep saying I'm lucky to know and have known so many amazing people. I hope my luck continues because I count on everybody in my present to help me continue my journey. And you can't help me if you don't know what the real deal is. Even though I've recently been suffering in some senses, my light has not been blown out. And I believe anything is possible. Maybe it's due to being a Pisces and an idealist, but I'd rather be that way, honestly. I've dealt with cancer for 3 years and 5 months, and I'll do so for the rest of my life until there's a cure. And even though my cancer is said to be aggressive, we've kept it at the same stage for just over 3 years. So my point is, that doesn't frighten me. It makes me strong. Makes me pissed a little, but strong. Not just physically, but also in intuitive and emotional ways. Life is seen through different eyes when you are sick and are facing off with a beast. And as long as I can make my choices still, it's going to always be to kick ass and take names, and to say my prayers, and to be thankful for my blessings. Thank you all for the love.